Jericho, and it's funny because Jericho and I had not talked for probably a year, and when I contacted him, I said, Jericho, how's your business going? I sent him a text, I think it was, and he goes, why? And I thought, well, he's probably wondering what I'm up to now. And I said, I'm thinking about leaving, and he said, we need to talk. Because I looked at Transamerica Captive, I wasn't going to do that. I had a friend who was at Lincoln Heritage who begged me to come over, and I said, wait a minute, your leads are really expensive, your product's not that great, and it's expensive. I wasn't doing that route either, nothing against those companies, but I knew what I was looking for. I was looking for somewhere where I could offer the best products to my clients. So I ended up going with Jericho. We got on the phone, and he got Adam on the phone with me, and we talked about everything, and I said, okay, am I a broker? What do I do? Yes, you're a broker. I said, great, because I want to be able to give the best products to my clients. So when I talk about, remember those 5 years where I wasn't really focusing on insurance? My mindset wasn't there. So think about where your mindset is. This business is 100% mindset. When my agents come to me and say, I'm fighting with my girlfriend, I said, stay home. Because guess what? These clients are going to feel it. I don't know how, but they always feel it. I had an agent one day come up to me and she said, every morning I get up and I look in the mirror and I tell myself I'm not going to make a sale. I said, go back to bed because you're not going to make a sale. This business is mindset. So what are you doing to get better? Think about that. Do you ever wonder what you're doing to get better, or are you just going through the daily routine and doing the same old, same old? You need to always be getting better. Team phone calls. We do a call every Monday morning at 8 a.m. And when my agents say to me, I don't get on the call because I don't get anything out of it, I'm like, okay, clearly your mindset is somewhere else, because I get something out of every single call, even 17 years into the business, every time. If it's something as little as route for me, which is going to help you route your leads, it's amazing. Team meetings. So we do a meeting once a week in our office, and I had one agent come up to me and she said to me, I don't feel right if I don't come to the meetings. I feel off. And I said, you are off. Because when you come to those meetings, we can get you going again, we can get you re-energized, we can get you pumped up, we can find out what didn't work last week and how we're going to fix it. If you're not there, we can't fix it. Even when they're on the phone calls, I have agents that will actually walk out of the room, and I know they're saying something wrong on the phone call when they're booking, so I'll follow them and see what they're saying, and I say, no, you need to say this. Because what I love about the business is that we've been through it. So whenever I tell my agents something, it's because I've been through all of it. So we're not telling you things that we've never seen. Seminars and academies. Good for you guys. Give yourself a hand for coming to the academy. Because guess what? The people that said, I can't take time out of my schedule, I'm too busy, I have to be on the field, I have to do this or that, you're going to go back and you're going to write more than they did. Because guess what? You're learning. You're learning how to get better. So when agents say to me, I can't afford to go to the academy, or I can't afford to do this, I think you can't afford not to. Because you're going to get so much more. Books. When agents say to me, well, I don't have time to read books. You have a phone, right? Audible's amazing. So I say, get Audible on your phone. You're in your car all the time. In my car, I always have something playing, something's on. So Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it. If you haven't, this is a book you definitely want to get. It's going to make you think completely differently than what you've done before. You Were Born Rich by Bob Proctor. I was blessed to go see Bob Proctor, 2-3 weeks ago. And when I saw him, he pulled out that book, Think and Grow Rich. He said, I read this book every day for the last 51 years because somebody told him to do it. So why wouldn't you do what successful people do? Good for you. Which book do you have there?
I've read Think and Grow Rich a lot. I just carried it in January again. I'm on audiobooks, but I carry it with me. It stays. It's part of my repertoire. It's very powerful. It is mindset at the end of the day.
Exactly. It is. Thank you. It's complete mindset. This business is, and I say that all the time. Now this one, I don't know how many of you know Grant Cardone, but I just learned about him at the last academy, right? And so I didn't know anything about Grant Cardone, but I had gotten into Chicago at the airport, and I thought, well, I need something to read on the plane. For some reason, I didn't bring anything. And so I grabbed his book, Be Obsessed or Be Average. Now my flight was going to Meridian, however, I was laid over in Dallas. Well, guess what? I was stranded in Dallas that night. And I've learned not to get upset about things. I've learned just to say, okay, God, there's a reason you're leaving me in Dallas, what is it? So I found the reason was to finish that book. Because had I gone on to the academy, I would have missed reading that. So I was stopped. God knows that I will not stop long enough to read. So he stopped me and said, you're stranded here for the night, and guess what? You're going to read this book. That is an amazing book. He's an amazing speaker also, and an amazing motivator. Motivational speakers. So remember how I said I was able to meet Bob Proctor? Well, when I went there, you know how everybody's like, oh my gosh, Bob, do you guys know who Bob Proctor is?
No.
So Bob Proctor has been a motivational speaker for over 50 years. He was a high school dropout. He only attended high school for 3 months. He was kicked out of high school and said that was the best day of his life. And he's been a motivational speaker for 51 years. He's actually 82 years old. And the agent that I took with me said to me, oh, thank God we're going to go see him. He's really old. What if he dies? I said, that's awful. So we got to see him while he's still alive, which is awesome. So motivational speakers will definitely help you. Obviously, you guys know that because you're here. You wouldn't be here if you didn't think this was of value, and you're learning so much. I'll never forget, the first academy I was at was when I met Mike, and I met Andrew. And I was looking at Andrew, and I was like, okay, this kid makes a lot of money. And I'm sorry, but you're still young to me. And I kept thinking, what is he doing? So I started watching everything, and I was mainly doing final expense, and I thought, I need to switch it up a bit. I need to get into mortgage protection. So I switched the team around a little bit, and we started doing mortgage protection. And I was so grateful that I was at that academy and met such awesome people. So the academies are amazing. And I do quote Zig Ziglar. I do love this when he says, people often say, motivation doesn't last, neither does bathing, that's why we do it daily. It's so true. How many times do you have to wake up and get yourself motivated again? That's the first thing you should do in the morning is just get motivated and get excited about what you do. I get so excited about this business. In fact, Bob even says, you don't even go to work, you go to play. I do. I get to go hang out with amazing families and I get to protect them. So think about what motivates you. What gets you on the field every day? What gets you on the phone? What gets you in the car? What is motivating you? Because something has to be. You have to be motivated by something. Is it independence? In this business, we have a lot of independence, right? Which can be a curse. Because you don't have somebody telling you you have to be at the desk at 9 in the morning and you can leave at 5. And so I see agents say, like Scott had said, agents will say things like, well, I have this going on, oh, I couldn't go to, oh, my dog was sick today. And I'm like, if your dog was sick today and you had to be at work at 9 o'clock and punch a clock, I know you would be there. So the excuses can be crazy. And so when independence is a curse, you need to flip it around and say, this is a job where I am so independent, or a career. I am so independent that I get to choose what I'm worth. I always tell the agents, are you guys worth $20,000 this year or $200,000? Because your minimum in this industry should be $100,000. Brand new agents, $100,000 should be your minimum. That's why you don't just do A-leads, because then it'll be $50,000. Excellence. Are you striving to get better? Obviously you are, because you're here. So you're looking for excellence. Time. It can be a curse too, right? Does this business buy you a lot of time? I've seen agents sell so much in one day, they take a month off. And I'm just sitting there looking at them thinking, what if you would have worked all those other weeks? What would your paycheck be at the end of the year? What would your 1099 say? Because if you're making a lot in one day, and then all of a sudden you take weeks, and I'm just looking at them, I'm always confused. So clearly you want time to be a motivator for you, where you not only you do get more time, but make sure you make the best of your time. Make a schedule and stick to it. I see agents that kind of fly by, whatever happens, happens. No, you want to stick to your schedule at all times. We have certain days we book, we have certain days we're on the field. And I tell the agents, do not spend one day in the field when you're supposed to be booking, because you're going to wreck your whole week. Opportunity. When I said I looked at 3 different opportunities, this was by far the best. Because I was able to work as a broker and have all these carriers. Don't you want what's best for your client? If you're just giving them one option, guess what? Somebody else is gonna walk behind you and give them a better option. So we have the best of the best with carriers, with everything, so make sure you take advantage of the opportunity. Teamwork. Remember how my agent said she doesn't feel right if she's not in the meetings? It's teamwork. How many people use Groupie in here? Everybody should. As a manager, you should be shouting out your agents every time they get a sale. Don't wait till the end of the week and say, I wrote this much, because you haven't motivated the rest of the team. When I do a shout out and I say, Chad just wrote 1,500, I know Aaron is sitting there saying, wait a minute, I want to write 1,500. We're excited for Chad, but guess what? We want to make the sales ourselves, right? Doesn't that get you motivated when somebody makes the sale and you're like, wait a minute, I want to do that too. So as a manager, you should be using Groupie and shout your team out daily. It's going to motivate the entire team. So trips. When I called Jericho and I asked about the opportunity, I said, are there any trips? Because I know I'm trip motivated. He sent me a whole list of carriers and trips. I was like, all right, I'm in. When One Life announced Aruba this year at the last convention, if you heard anybody scream in the church that day, it was me, because I was very excited, because those excite me. It's like that gives you something to work for. And you always want to give what's best for the client, but don't the trips sometimes sway you a little bit? If I can go to Italy, I'm going to sell a little bit more of that company. So they do. Money. Are you guys money motivated? You have to be. If you're in this room and you're money motivated, if you tell me you're not, I'm not going to believe you. Because if you weren't money motivated, you could go work 9 to 5 somewhere Monday through Friday and just make your, whatever, $10 an hour. Ugh, right? That's gross. Money motivated. Money motivated. You have to be in this industry because, guys, like I said, you decide what you're worth. Are you worth $20,000 or are you worth $200,000 or $1 million a year? That's your goal. So money motivated. Well, luckily for me, and luckily for Jericho, he knows I'm money motivated. So one day Jericho sends me this. A $9,000 check. And he doesn't say anything, he just sends me a picture of this check in a text. I'm like, I said, Jericho, what did you do to get that? And this is Jericho's response. I just wrote an annuity. And that's Jericho. Everything's just, I just did this. And I said, wait a minute. You just wrote an annuity? I've been in the industry 17 years. I had never touched an annuity. I didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't know what an annuity is. That's how, I was just doing final expense, that was it. Blinders were on, that was it. So the $9,000 check, I was like, all right, I'm gonna learn how to do annuities. So what I did was I started looking for annuities. I didn't know how to look for them. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do with them when I found them. I would just get into a house, and I didn't have a script. Jericho was 2.5 hours away, so I didn't go on the field with him. I didn't even have a script. I would just get into a house, and I would start saying, so where do you work? Real simple, right? So where do you work? But you need to do this at the end, after you've done the mortgage protection. Because if you get into a house and start looking for annuities, and you're there for mortgage protection, you've lost that client. Because you were there for one thing first, is your mortgage protection. So I go through the whole thing with the clients, and I figure out where they worked. And I would say things to them like, okay, so you worked at Dean Foods, and you worked there 30 years. But let's say this guy's retired, I would say to him, so what did you do with your 401k? Now notice I didn't say, did you have a 401k? Because I'm never creating that no environment. I'm saying, what did you do with your 401k? And they would tell me. I'd go back to the office, this was in August I started doing this. I'd go back to the office, and I would start running illustrations. I'd say to the client, okay, I'm gonna go back to the office, I'm gonna run an illustration, and I'll call you back. Guess what I would do next? I wouldn't go back, ever. I didn't know what to do. I would run the illustration, I'd look at it, I'd be like, I don't know what to do with this. This was in August. So I would run the illustration, I'd look at a 14-page illustration and think, do I show them the whole thing? I don't understand it, how are they gonna understand it? I would look at the application and think, I don't even know what they're supposed to sign. I don't know any of this stuff. So that was in August. I left a lot of money on the table, guys. I look back at those emails where I was doing those different quoting or illustrations, and I would be like, wow, wow, there's a lot of money sitting out there. And I would keep asking questions, and I would keep not going back. The definition of insanity, keep doing the same thing over and over and over. That's what I was doing. And I started to think, when I wrote this, when I was doing this whole PowerPoint, I thought, what was it that made me change? What was it that made me finally in November start writing annuities? And when we talk about motivational speakers, I had not gone to one ever. Well, in October, I went to see Jack Canfield. Do you guys know who that is?
Yes.
Okay, a little bit better. So I went to see Jack Canfield, and I was so excited. I got VIP seating. I paid the extra for it. It was a one-day course. It was in Chicago. And I was the first one in line. Everybody's standing around like not knowing what to do, and I'm thinking, what is wrong with you people? I want to sit in the front row. I'm going to be first in line. So I got first in line, sat right in the front row of Jack Canfield. And he said a lot of things. But he said, I want everybody to do this. I want you to go home. I want you to write on a piece of paper an amount of money you're going to make by a certain date. He said, I don't want you to make it something that's simple, not something that you've done before, and not something that you even know how you're going to do. So I get home, and you never want to tell your family this because they think you're crazy. They're like, what are you doing? So I went home, I got out my paper, and I thought, okay, I have to pay the IRS, they don't play, right? I have to pay the IRS $25,000 by December 15th. But then I stopped, and I thought, wait a minute. Jack Canfield said to make it something that was not realistic, something you've never done before, something that was crazy to you, right? So I thought, all right. I wrote down December 15th, 2016, $50,000 in my bank account for whatever I needed, something I didn't know how I was going to do. Because $25,000 was too easy. I could do that in that amount of time, right? You know, I'd write a lot of business. So I wrote down $50,000. That was towards the end of October. Well, all of a sudden, all these doors started opening. And I was like, holy cow, I don't even know what's going on. I've learned not to ask, I just go with it. So I get out and I start looking for more annuities. And you know how when Scott said the agents prejudge the leads, they don't want those? Well, when they do that in my office, I grab that lead and say, give it to me, let me take it, and let's see what I do. So I call the lead, it was on a Thursday booking. I call the lead, and the lady's name is Cynthia. Nobody wanted it. It was mortgage protection. She was in a really bad area of town. It was 2 hours away from us, and she was 72 years old. Mortgage protection, right? Your ideal client? No. So I call her up, and I said, hey, Cynthia, it's Cindy. I just need, whatever your script is, I just need to come go over your mortgage protection for your Chase Bank, blah, blah, blah. I'll be out there Saturday. Are you available morning or afternoon? Now notice I didn't say, can I come see you on Saturday? When agents say that, I just am like, why would you say that? They're going to tell you no. Morning or afternoon, what's best for you? What's best for you? You always want to say that. And so she said morning, and I said, perfect. I could be there at 9 or 11. What's best for you? 9 o'clock. Okay. So 9 o'clock comes around. I go out there on a Saturday morning, 2 hours from the office, and I get out there, and she's in the worst part of town. But the good thing is the bad guys sleep in the morning on Saturdays, right? They've been busy Friday night. So I get up to her apartment, and you have to buzz to be let in. So I buzz the door. Here's another thing. If the person I'm there to see it doesn't answer, I just start buzzing all of them. Do you guys ever do that? Somebody's going to let you in. So luckily Cynthia let me in. So I get over there. I go upstairs, 3 flights of stairs. Really nice lady. She was from Haiti. Really strong accent. And we sit down. And I look around, and I'm in a kitchen with the ceiling leaking, and with a card table and chairs. That's what we were sitting at, folding table. It's like, okay, so this is going to be interesting. So I said, Cynthia, you know, we're here about the mortgage. We went over the whole thing, and she goes, but I have life insurance. And I said, that's awesome. Can you go get it for me? Because here's another thing. If she tells me she has life insurance, what do they tell you? I have $100,000. Is it whole life? Yes, it's whole life, and I paid $10 a month, and I got it last year. No. So go get that policy. And guess what? If they don't have their policy, and a lot of times they don't, I get their carrier on the phone and find out what they have. Because I'm not leaving that house without us knowing she's protected. And they appreciate it. A lot of times I'll get the carrier on the phone and find out that what they have is completely different than what they thought. But isn't it better to find out then instead of after they pass away? We had a gentleman that passed away, thought he left $500,000 to his wife. We went out there to look over our policy that he had. He had $490,000 of accidental and $10,000 of whole life, which was ours, and he died of a heart attack. There were a lot of tears that day. So I always want to find out what they have. So Cynthia says, I'm all good. And I looked at her policy and I said, you did an amazing job. I'm always going to say you did an amazing job no matter what. But she actually did. She had plenty of life insurance. I said, Cynthia did a great job. You're all set. So we're sitting there and I casually said to her, so where'd you used to work? Simple, right? Really easy. This was before I had the financial analysis sheet. I didn't know anything about it. I was just doing my thing. And I said, so where do you used to work? She said, well, at the school for 30 years. And I said, that's awesome. I said, what'd you do with your 401k? And she said, I don't know if I still have a 401k. And I thought, well, it's Saturday, and I know they're not open, so I can't call them. So I said, Cynthia, you know what? On Monday, I'm going to call you, and we're going to three-way to the company. I said, and you know, they don't want to talk to me, but I'm going to tell you what to say, but I'm going to listen. I want to hear what they have to say. So on Monday, we get busy with meetings and everything, and then I remember, oh, I need to call Cynthia back. So I give her a call, and I said, hey, Cynthia, let's call him real quick. So we get him on the phone, and she says, this is Cynthia, and I need to find out if I have any money in my 401k. And I'm thinking, the ceiling's leaking, we're at a card table and chairs, there's probably nothing left, right? So we get there, and the person comes back on the phone, and they said, Cynthia, you have $129,000 left in your 401k. Think of how other agents prejudge that lead. And we got off the phone, and I said, Cynthia, I'll be out there tomorrow. Am I going to wait? No. I heard somebody last time say they'd fly out and help you write a $100,000 annuity, so I'm like, I'm going to go write this annuity with her. So we get out there, and back into the apartment, doing everything as on Tuesday. I was out there to see her, and I said, okay, we're going to start paperwork, but I need to find out what you need the money for. Do you need any money right now? Because I don't want her to have to touch it, right? Annuities are to stay. Well, I knew we were going to do an income rider, and she said, well, I want to redo my bathroom, and I'm going to be going to Italy. And I said, all right, how much do you need? She said, $14,000. I said, fine. Let's call. We're going to have them write you a check for $14,000. We're going to have them write a check to Athene for $115,000. Easy, right? I thought so. This is where I want you to learn. So we get on the phone, and I said, Cynthia, they don't want to talk to me. They want to talk to you. I'm going to put you on speaker, and if I need to tell you to say anything, I'm going to write it down. So she gets on the phone and says, this is Cynthia, I want to take money out of my 401k. She's very soft-spoken. And all of a sudden, the guy on the other end goes, why? And I thought, oh, crud, now we're in trouble. Because I hear the tone on the other end of the call. And she goes, well, I want to put it into an annuity. Has somebody advised you on this? Yes, I'm working with somebody. He said, well, we have an office local. I want you to go there this week, and we're going to help you do that. And thank God for Cynthia. She was very good. She said, no, I'm already working with somebody. You know what he said next? And I'm sitting there quietly just listening, thinking, oh, this will be simple. He said, your agent doesn't care about you. The annuity is the worst thing you can do. Your agent is getting a huge commission. And I'm just like, do you ever feel like you're watching a train wreck? And you can't stop it? I couldn't stop this. She looked at me like, and I was just like, put my head down like, oh boy, here we go. So luckily for me, Cynthia's much stronger than I thought she was, and she said, no, I want my money. And the guy said, fine, I can fax it over or I can mail it over. You have to fill out this paper. And I'm sitting there looking around the room thinking, okay, there is not a fax machine here, so clearly you have to mail it. So she hangs up the phone, and I knew I had to fix it. So this is where I want you guys to prep your clients. I said to her, Cynthia, it is his job to keep your money. He's just saying that this is the best thing for you. I showed you what the possibilities are. This is the best option for you. He's just trying to keep your money. And she said, I know. So as I started filling out the paperwork, I thought, okay, here we go. She needs to get it in the mail. She needs to sign it. She needs to mail it back. This is going to take a lot of time. And then her mind's going to start going. So I said, Cynthia, you know what? I need to run to Staples, and I need to get some copies for us. I said, why don't you, let's call them. Let's have them fax it to Staples. So we did. And I came back, on the way back, I grabbed Panera Bread, something she's probably starving. We went right through lunch with all this. And I come back, we finish everything, and then the day I went to deliver her policy, I get in there, we go up the flights of stairs, and I look in the kitchen, I said, you're fixing your ceiling? And she goes, yeah, the homeowners association's doing it. So had I prejudged any of those things, the lead that was too old for anybody to go see, she lives in an apartment in the worst part of town, and there was a $129,000 annuity sitting there that so many people left and let it go. So you never, ever want to prejudge your leads. How many people in here door knock? Okay, door knocks need to be your best friend. If you're not door knocking, you are losing out on so much. When Scott talked about the leads that other people don't want, I had a new agent come in, and he actually used to work with me in another company. And he came in, and he likes to work in Chicago. Well, I had these leads that other people didn't want. They just said inside, oh, these are awful. Oh, this is a terrible area. He went out this first day, wrote $3,000. It's all mindset. So door knocking, if you're a manager and you're not door knocking, I know your team's not door knocking, and so you need to start. My team door knocks because I door knock. I get out there and I say, let's go. We're going to go knocking on doors. So I get up to Peter's apartment again. I don't know what it is with apartments. And it's an apartment we have to buzz again. And it's a mortgage protection lead. I haven't been able to get a hold of this guy. So I go and I hit the buzzer. And all of a sudden this guy walks out, and his hair is crazy, and he's got sweatpants on. And I'm like, okay. I said, are you Peter? He says, yeah, what can I do for you? And I said, oh, I'm Cindy. I'm here about this mortgage. And that's all I got out, and he started screaming at me. He said, I told you people I don't need this. He just went on and on, and I just sat there and smiled. Because, remember those Monday morning calls? I learned something really huge from Dave Brecka one day. I looked at the client, and I smiled, and I said, I am so sorry. I need to close your file. It is like music to their ears because they're like, good, close that file. I don't want anybody else bugging me. And I always tell them that, oh, you don't want anybody else bothering you. Let me close your file. Well, we're still standing outside. And he goes, good, close my file because I can buy this whole building if I wanted to. If you guys know me, that's all I had to hear. I said, that's amazing, Peter. I said, where do you keep your money? Well, I keep it at Bank of America, and I'm mad at them too. They're charging me all these fees. And I said, well, that's a shame. I said, you should have put your money with Nationwide. They don't have any fees. Well, thanks for telling me, because I'm going to call him tomorrow. And he goes to walk away. I was like, wait, I can help you with that. So he comes back, and we're still not even in the building. He still has me standing outside. And I said, how much do you have with Bank of America? And he says, I don't know, $200,000. And I said, all right. I said, I'm going to do an illustration, my favorite thing, right? But I've learned to set the appointment. I don't say I'm going to call you back. I say, I'm going to come see you on this day. I said, Peter, I'm going to be back next week on Tuesday, morning or afternoon. Well, we can do it in the afternoon, but we're not doing it here. I said, okay. Clearly he doesn't want me in his place. I didn't care. And I said, fine. There's a Chili's down the street. Let's meet there next Tuesday at 2 o'clock. So here's another point. When you're meeting a client at a place, a public place, get there early, have a spot ready. I even tip the waitress ahead of time and say, don't bother us. You get our drink order. If we need drinks, get us more drinks. I will overtip. I don't care, $20, whatever I give her. Get our drinks, and then I'll let you know when we're ready to order. So we get in there, and I'm sitting in there, and I'm getting all my paperwork ready, but don't have your papers on the table either. Don't think they're going to come in and just sign it, it's all good. No, we're going to build rapport. So I get in there, I get all my paperwork done, and I put it to the side, and I'm looking down at my phone, and I look up, and I see this guy walking through the door. His hair's perfect, he's dressed like $1 million, and I'm like, is that the same guy? I saw a hot mess in the door. So he comes walking in, he sits down, he's a great guy. He goes, Cindy, yeah, let's go, we'll go over everything. I learned about his kids, his grandkids, everything. So we're talking, this business is about relationships, right? So we're talking, and all of a sudden he's ready for me to show him the illustration. So I get it out and I say, this is the worst case scenario, best case, this is, what it's been doing the last 12 years. He says, okay, let's do the paperwork. So I'm filling out the paperwork and I'm sitting there. I remember this guy screamed at me before. He had $230,000 with Bank of America. And as I'm sitting there filling it out, he goes, I have more money with them. I said, that's awesome. I said, so what do you do with it? He said, well, I have it in 2 separate accounts, $50,000 in each. I said, okay, do you ever touch it? He said, yes, I take out 150 every month out of each. And I said, okay. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't want to touch it because he takes money out, right? So we sit there, and I'm still doing paperwork, and then I said, Peter, why don't you take 300 out of this one every month? Let's put your other one with Nationwide. He goes, okay. And he shows me his account. He's like, I don't know why I trust you. And I thought, well, obviously you know this name. You know Nationwide's name. You know, you understand it. And so we did that, and I get back, and I was still so new at annuities. I started looking at the paperwork, and I was like, oh, I missed this signature. I missed getting this information because I was so nervous. I had never, this is like my second annuity. So I thought, okay, I need to get a hold of him. Well, I call him, and he's not answering. And how do you guys feel when the client doesn't answer? Your heart sinks, right? Oh my gosh, you're changing your mind, all these things start going through your head. And I try to clear it out because I know the positive thinking has to be there. And I finally thought, I need to go over there. And I remember how the first time at the door was, so I was like, oh crud, here we go. So I head over there, and I thought, I need to show up with something. I can't just show up and say I need a signature. So I stopped at Walgreens, and I got a thank you card and a $25 Chili's gift card. And I show up at the door, ring the bell, just waiting, thinking, please don't scream at me. And he comes out, hair's a mess, sweatpants on, and gives me a huge hug. And says, I am so sorry, I know I needed to get you this paperwork. I'm working on it now. And I said, no problem, Peter, I need to give you this card. I'm smiling. And I said, I need a quick signature, still smiling. And we're standing there talking a little bit. He goes, I think I found more money. That's what I said. I was clapping. I was like, thank you. And so he says, I think I found more money. And I said, that's amazing. I said, you got money everywhere, don't you? And he goes, yeah, it's in an old retirement account. But you know what? I'm going to leave it there. It's for my grandkids. And I said, that's fine, Pete. I said, everything's for your grandkids. And I wasn't even thinking about it as I'm saying it. I said, we're leaving it all for your grandkids, right? You're your beneficiary. And he goes, and this is what I said to him next, without even thinking, I said, as long as you're not losing any money. And then he stood there and he looked at me for a long time and he goes, I'm putting it with you. And I said, okay. At this point, I didn't know if it was $10, I didn't know what it was. And I said, okay, let me do an illustration for you. How much is in there? He said $91,000. So here we went from somebody screaming at me at the door, a lot of agents would have backed down and been like, I'm never door knocking again, to an annuity that went from $230,000 to $280,000 to $371,000. That's amazing. So when you guys don't door knock, you might as well just throw money in the garbage, because there's money waiting for you. But remember, I still had to hit a goal. I still needed to make $50,000 by December 15th. So I'm out door knocking again. Plus I wanted to beat Jericho's check, right? I'm like, wait a minute, Jericho had a $9,000 check, I want to beat that. So I'm out door knocking, and this time it was a final expense lead that I had, an old one, and I'm looking at it, and there's no phone number. How many agents will throw that to the side? And I'm like, okay, I'm door knocking this guy. I get in there, I knock on the door, and his name is Pedro, but he went by Pete. How ironic, right? So I get in there, and I knock on the door, get in there, find out his wife had died 2 years ago. He's 60 years old, he's still working at Dean Foods, been there 30 years. And I said, that's awesome. So we're talking, and he's like, I feel like I wasted your time. I don't need life insurance. And I said, you know what, Pete, it's never a waste of my time. This is what I do. I want to make sure that you're good, and you're good. You did a great job. I said, how's your 401k at Dean Foods? He goes, oh, it's good. It's up and down, up and down. I said, did you ever think of moving it into an annuity? Because that's what I do. I help people with their 401ks. He goes, I can't touch it. Until I retire, I cannot touch it. And I said, okay, no big deal. He goes, but my wife's annuity, or 401k, I can move that. I said, okay, how much is in it? He said, $100,000. I said, okay, let me go do an illustration, get back. So I get back with the illustration, and he takes the paper like this. And he's like really studying it, and I'm thinking, all right, what is he thinking? He looks at it, and he says, Cindy, what can you do with my 401k? In my mind, I'm thinking, well, you told me I couldn't touch it, but I'm not telling you that. So I said, you know what, let's call your company, let's find out. So we get the company on the phone. He goes, I don't want to talk, I want you to talk. I said, all right, you have to give me permission. So we get him on the phone, and I said, we want to find out if he can move any of his 401k. By this time, I had at least learned about in-service distributions. And so they said, hold on. Well, they came back and they said he can take out $1,500 today, and he can take out a percentage tomorrow. And I said, okay. Still at this point, I didn't know what was in this 401k. And I said, can you tell me what percent he could take out tomorrow? It sounds very authoritative on the phone, guys, because your clients love it, because they think I've been doing this forever, and I've been doing it for like 3 months. So I said, what percent can he take out tomorrow? And they came back on the phone, they said he can take out 100% tomorrow. I didn't know that at 59.5, they can take their money. I had no idea. I was shocked. And I still didn't know what it was. And I said, okay, can you tell me how much he can take out tomorrow? They said $430,000. I was very excited. I didn't jump up and run around the house. I wanted to. I wanted to scream. But I acted like I did this every day. Okay, thank you. Hang up the phone. So we requested the $1,500, and the next day I had to call him. Here's something else I want you to learn. Don't ever call a client and try to get them to move $430,000 over the phone. Learn from my mistakes. So I get him on the phone after he gets off work, and I said, oh, we're going to request the rest of the money. He goes, wait a minute. Why are you in such a hurry? How much are you making on this? And I thought, oh, crud. I said, clearly he's talked to somebody at work, and they're telling him I'm making millions on this. And I said, you know what, Pete, I really don't know, because I really didn't know at that point. I said, it depends on percentages, it depends on your age, it depends on a lot of things. I said, but you know what, I'm coming to your house tomorrow morning. And when I show up at these clients' houses, I bring a Kringle. Do you guys know what a Kringle is? It's an amazing pastry from Wisconsin. I guess there's a book called The Pie Guy, which I didn't even know. He brought pies to his clients, well, I bring Kringles. So I show up, we talk about his kids, whatever, we transfer the $430,000. And you know how I say that competitive spirit, that I want to beat that $9,000 check? Well, I knew that I still had a goal by December 15th that I needed to get to my $50,000 goal. And I remember that I was here, and I went up to Mike and I said, oh my gosh, I just got paid on one of my annuities. And he high-fives me. I don't even know if I told him the amount. And I knew I wanted to beat a $9,000 check, right? That was my goal, because I'm going to beat Jericho. He enjoys when I do. So when you talk about a life-changing deposit, and how I just wrote down a simple number and I didn't know how I was going to do it, when I was at convention last time, this hit my account. A deposit for $31,004.91. That is life-changing. That is, I was blasting that everywhere. I'm like, anybody that wants to work, you need to come here, look what happened. And they're just like, what did you do? Is it legal? Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. So that is life-changing. And I did hit that $50,000 goal. I was so grateful that Jack Canfield told me to do this. I was probably told to do that a million times before and I never listened. But I wrote it down and boom, right in my account. So when people say to me, why do you do what you do? Is it just the money? It's not just the money. This is a fun position. You get to change lives every single day. And I always tell the story of Tim. Tim was a 52-year young union carpenter. And I remember it was a Saturday morning, I was in the field and I was taking an agent with me. And I was looking and I was like, I cannot find this house. I don't know how to get to this house. And I thought, I'm just gonna call him later and I'll reschedule whatever. And something in my head said, find the house. God was telling me to get to that house. I didn't know why. I was like, fine, I'll find the house. You know how you don't always want to listen? I did. Well, I get over there, and Tim's running around. He's not running around, sorry. His 7-year-old son is running around crazy, crazy, crazy. And Tim said to me, Cindy, I just want to make sure that if I pass away, my son's taken care of. Because when Tim was young, his dad passed away. And I said, all right, Tim, no problem. I said, so we're going to do a policy on you. He had no life insurance. He had been a union carpenter for 21 years. He had no life insurance. So we get there, we write the policy. That was August 2nd, 2015. I received a phone call from his sister, September 2nd, 2015, to say that Tim was on his motorcycle. He had a 7-year-old son on the back, crashed, and died. My heart sank. Because when I'm writing policies with these guys, you know what I say to them? Let me come cry with your family, but let me bring a big check. Because they think about it then, right? Let me bring a big check. And I thought, I'm going to go cry with this family. This is awful. But when people ask me why we do what we do, I tell them because when Tim's son turns 18, because he put his son as beneficiary, I told him not to, but he did. He said, I want him to have it. I said, fine. When his son turns 18, he's going to get a $215,000 plus check from us. Because I went to a house on a Saturday morning, so when people ask you, why do you do what you do? Ew, you wanna sell life insurance? Ew. No way, that is the best job in the world because you are changing lives daily. When that son receives a $215,000 check, he is going to know that his dad cared about him and took care of him. You change lives daily. So I love to tell people, we sell stacks and stacks of money at a discounted rate, right? Because Tim paid $90 into that policy, his son is receiving $215,000. That is stacks and stacks of money at a discounted rate. That is exactly why you do what you do. You are changing lives every single day. Well, because I had put $200,000 accidental on him. That's one, good point, David, thank you. When people are young, even when they're not young, put accidental on them. Foresters has an amazing standalone product, and you want to make sure that you put it on them. I mean, I think $250,000, at the point where I was working, I could only do $200,000 maximum, but $250,000, sometimes it's $20, $30. So you want to put that accidental on them, because when you receive that phone call, you don't want to say, oh yeah, they have like $5,000. I want to say they have $215,000. That's huge. Makes you mind?
I'd love to.
Thank you.
So Cindy, you're saying you have $15,000 policy?
Whole life.
With $200,000 accident life.
Right.
And then, David, do me a favor, hold questions till after lunch just because we gotta get back on schedule. Sorry. Good question, by the way.
So I'm going to leave you guys with this. They're handing out a few things for you, and I'm going to show you what it is. Because I always want to leave you better than when I got here, right? That's the whole point, is so you're a better person when we leave. So what we're leaving you with are these gratitude rocks. So if you know what they are, great. If you don't, I'm going to tell you. I want you to keep them in your pocket, wherever you want to keep them with you. And every time you touch your gratitude rock, I want you to remember what you're grateful for. You're grateful for your home, you're grateful for your family, you're grateful for the amazing opportunity, grateful for all these awesome speakers. The ones we've had yesterday were amazing. I was so excited to see all of them. It's funny that you throw that. And I want you to, when you're at the home, when you're standing at the door, picture yourself standing at the door, and the client is screaming at you. And I want you to have that gratitude rock in your hand. And I want you to be grateful for that client. Because that client is making you so much stronger than you ever were. Be so grateful for them. So thanks, guys. Have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your time. Woo! Oh, I'm sorry.
Outstanding job. Outstanding job. All right, folks. A couple things here. I'm going to go pretty quick. I am very excited to bring up the next speaker. However, I got a couple of things to cover. Number one, we will probably run, I know it says 11:15 on your break. I told you to be a taker, be a user. Now I'm going to ask you for something, an extra 15 minutes of your time. Are y'all okay if we take a break at 11:30? All right, thank you, right? And here's the other thing. We'll probably make up for that time. If you all want to come back in 10 minutes late or so to start the next session with Andrew, that's fine. But we'll probably run 15 minutes into lunch, which based on how long the line was yesterday, I think that makes us smarter, right? Because let the big line get through, and we'll just get up in there and eat, so we can make up the time, all right? Couple things. How about another round of applause for Cindy? That was awesome. Look at your schedule. At 1 o'clock today, I think it is. 1 o'clock, 1 to 1:30, you're going to see real life annuity scenarios, game planning, the whole thing with Joe and Paul. In listening to Cindy, so many producers out there are like, look, I don't love the prospect, but I will if I have to. Well, we can teach you how to write ancillary sales, and that's what she's saying. There's no easier person to prospect to than a person who you already prospected to that bought from you, right? And ancillary sales are usually 2 to 5 times the commission for you than the initial sale you made. So it's a gold mine. I'm sure Andrew will touch on it. Anybody that's come through the system will bring it up. Not surprisingly, I hope to all of you, in UWU is a wealth campus. It has an Annuities 101 section, so you can learn a lot of this stuff, right? You don't have to go figure it out on your own. But we've also created a tool that you can use as part of the application process when you write your first initial sale, like Cindy said, go in and don't be a starving elephant hunter, right? Grab the low-hanging fruit, build a relationship from there. So we have an absolute system for you to just collect the info. We have an individual who came through it and did it much the way Cindy did, and they will go over with you what you have picked up. Then we have a case designer who only does annuity case design. That's all he does, right? Strategic Alliance, folks. Got a great annuity organization. They do case design. And our guy will actually fly out and help you write your first couple of deals until you're either comfortable doing it on your own. Because if you heard Cindy, she said, you heard 3 months. It really is easy, but the dollar amounts can be intimidating, right? So pay close attention from 1 to 1:30, because I don't want anybody to have to go through the incredible pain Cindy went through to persevere and get to her level of success. We want to make it easier for you, right? Because I'd have a hard time doing that. I'm not as driven as you. You're amazing, right? And your perseverance is incredible. I would learn from that and want to be more like you, right? So great job. I also want to clarify a comment I made earlier and communicate. I didn't mean to imply that you should never go to motivational speakers like Zig Ziglar, right? And I hope you understood what I meant. Going to Zig Ziglar is not going to make you a good mortgage protection specialist. Going to UWU and owning your identity, becoming a great mortgage protection specialist, will then be a good reason for you to go see Zig Ziglar. Because Zig Ziglar will give you the motivation you need to apply the system you know, so that all the pieces come together. So I want to clarify that, and I'm glad you brought some of those things up. Okay, moving right along. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker, and I just want to tell you a little bit about him before I bring him up. Sergeant Major Overstreet is the 12th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. There have only been 18 total in the Corps' 150-year history, right? So that's a pretty special achievement. Later on, during the break, you should, in your toolbar, search Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps and look at what it entails, what it is.